Poor thing.
Buckle in and hang on.
Oh, y'all, we got fired up Tracy today.
So we have a new thing that we're adding to our weekly coffee chats. And Caroline and I talk a lot, in case you didn't know. And we come up with these topics that we always want to talk about, but we never remember to do. So what we're going to do is a little segment we are calling This Week's Truth Bomb. And every week we are going to talk about something that basically either we realized, we experienced, we went through, we want to share with you guys. So sometimes there are truth bombs, sometimes they're truth bombs for you guys, whatever it is. But this week, we really, really, really want to talk about the idea of not following in other people's footsteps, because you need to create your own journey. Now, here's the thing. Every single blogger does this. Every single blogger says, oh, Shelly is doing this. It's working for her. I'm going to try that now. And then 2 days later, wait a second. Rosie is doing this and it's working so good for her. So I'm going to try this now. Or Caroline is killing it with Instagram. So Tracy's going to try it now. Said no one ever. And I just want you guys to know, because you have to do your own journey. You have to make your own path. You have to forge your own starting point, your roadmap, whatever it is for your business. You have to put blinders on and you have to just look straight ahead and not look left and right and not say squirrel and not look at the shiny things. And now that doesn't mean you don't try things, but if you're already on a journey, don't take a right-hand turn if you weren't planning on it until you're done getting from point A to point B.
It's so true, guys. And it's so easy. I find this, maybe this is just me, but I find this a lot of times from like Facebook groups. And I'm not even on Facebook. Like I have newsfeed eradicator. I am very intentional with my time on Facebook, but I still I don't have it on my phone. So if I pull up Facebook on my phone, next thing I know, I'm getting sucked down the free Facebook group drama hole.
Right.
And then all of a sudden I'm seeing like, oh, someone's killing it with SEO. Well, I really need to be focusing on that. Next thing I know, oh, someone's killing it on YouTube. They're saying they're making so much money on YouTube. Well, I should do that. Well, someone's killing it with physical products. Well, I should do that. And next thing I know, I've lost track of where I want to spend my time. I've lost track.
Is huge.
It's
huge.
And it's so frustrating because you're like, you could be like you said, like picture, you're on a path and you're like, I've got this. And next thing you know, someone like crosses your path and takes like a hard left turn and you're like, oh, that kind of looks pretty. And you start to follow them. And then another person comes along and you take a hard right turn.
Right.
And next thing you know, you've lost your path. You were like, I was really happy on that path. I knew where I was going. I knew where I wanted to be. I knew how I was going to get there and how I was going to get back and what I was going to do when I got to the end of it. And now I don't know where I am. And it's hard to get back on track after you've fallen off that path. And both Tracy and I still do this, by the way, guys. I don't know a single person who doesn't still do this, even with a super successful business. Like, I know that there are still people who are like, oh, so-and-so is charging money for free or for trainings every week. I should do that. So-and-so is doing a live stream every single day. I should do that. So-and-so is doing this. So-and-so is doing that. And it's so hard. But this is where you need to take control of your journey and say, where do I want to go? At the end of the year, when I look back on my year, will I say I was burned out? Or will I say, I did what I wanted to do and I made it profitable for me and I'm happy with the way that it went? Because like I was talking to another friend about like, where is it that you want to spend all of your time? And she was like, oh, well, I want to do more membership stuff. I want to sell more courses. I want to do more webinars. And it's like, okay, but where do you want to spend your time? And she's very relational. So she loves being inside of her membership group. I'm like, why are you trying to sell courses if that's where you want to be, is inside of your group? She's like, I don't know, but everybody says doing courses is the right thing. I'm like,
yeah. And here's the thing I want to mention real quickly is that there's a couple comments in the group saying I'm not killing it with anything. In my head, if you're not killing it with anything, it's because you're trying to do all the things.
All the things.
Pick one thing and make sure you're killing it there before you start another thing. Now, you can still get distracted. Absolutely. But what you do is if you can see a really good idea, you're like, oh, I really want to try that. You write that down, you put it on a post-it, you put it in a Google Doc, you make a note of it, you put it on your calendar, and you put that off to the side, and you keep working on your one thing. The only way you're going to get good is at that one thing is if you stick with it until you're good with it, or you realize it's not going to work for you and your audience, and you let that one thing go. So you have to stay on this one path before you start on another path. And that's the part of starting a business. It's not just one path. It's all these small paths that mold together into your path. So, and you have to try the things out. We're not saying don't do that. We're saying don't stop what you're doing now to try that because it's working for someone else. Make a note of it, keep it on your list, and then do that once you finish this. So now, the way I kind of keep my head in the game, because you know me, I'm all about putting it into action. So the way that I do it for me, and I know Caroline probably has her own way, maybe it's the same, I don't know, is every single week I have one thing that I am going to do, implement, and finish, whatever that is. It could be making a new product. It could be making a new freebie. It could be revamping my welcome sequences. It could be a launch, whatever it is. I have one main thing that is going to happen every single week. Because no matter what I'm doing, I should be able to get it done in 7 days. If not, then I've got issues someplace else. Like I'm not streamlining things. I'm not vetting things out to VAs, whatever it is. I should have enough time and bandwidth to complete a goal or project every single week. So if something comes up that I think is a great idea, then I'm going to set it off to the side until I am able to finish this goal before I start on anything new.
That I think is something that's really important to understand is that when we say like ignore everybody else, that's not saying like you can only ever be good at Pinterest because that's where you're focusing right now, right? Like that's not saying that you can't add YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and whatever else it is that you want to do and making physical products and having a clothing line and having a jewelry line, whatever it is that you want to do. That's not saying that you can't do that, but it's saying you have to master the one area first.
Yes.
And for a lot of us, it has to start with, if you guys are like, I don't know where to start, where should I be focusing? You have to figure out your message. What is your business about? What is your message that you are bringing into the world with your blog, with your words, with everything that you're doing? You have to figure that out. Then you have to make the content that talks about that so that you are able to bring in the people. If you have mastered what it is about, writing the content and getting it out there, marketing it in front of people, that's when you can start to figure out new ways of reaching broader audiences or different audiences. But don't jump straight from, I wrote my first blog post to, I'm going to make a clothing line. You have to figure out your path in between where you are and where you want to be. And all of ours look different. Like all of our paths look different. We're talking about blogging. We're talking about getting our messages out there through our words, through our message, through our content. We are content creators. You have to create content and you have to know who it is you're creating content for before you can create more content. Because if the idea is kind of like, oh, I'll just make more videos. It's like, but who are you making videos for? What are your videos going to be about? Oh, I'll just make more products. Who are they for? What are they about? Who are they helping? You have to address those things.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point to make. The foundation of our businesses, because we're bloggers, the foundation of the success to our businesses always goes back to knowing our people. And I know we sound like broken records, but if you struggle with making content, it's probably because you don't know your people. If you struggle with coming up with freebies, making products, making tripwires, it's probably because you don't truly know your people. And knowing your people is a living and breathing thing. It's not a once and done. It is something that needs to be revisited because as you grow as a blogger, your audience is going to transform as well. So who you were writing to a year ago may not be who you're writing to today. So that's why we're constantly saying you have to know your people and you have to revisit your people and who you're writing to every single quarter. You have to do it at least 4 times a year because that's going to change so much. So if you're struggling in an area, if you're struggling with Instagram and what posts to write and what tags to use, you probably don't know your people. And it always is going to come back to that. So basics play a huge role in our journey, in what we're learning and what we're trying to be proficient at. And here's the thing I want to talk about that Caroline just mentioned. I can't remember the words you used, but when you're doing something and you're becoming an expert in it, you're going to want to redo it because your level of expertise right now is not going to be the same the second time you do that process, the third time you do it. You're going to level up every time. So let's say you're learning Facebook right now and you're just learning how to set up a successful page. And then once you get that done, you're like, okay, that's done. Now I can work on this. So then maybe 6 months from now, you're going to go back to Facebook and say, okay, now I want to learn how to make a successful group. And you're going to work on that till you have a good group. And then you're going to set that off to the side and work on something else. So we're not saying becoming proficient in every area from start to expert. It's going to be a level every single time you do it. And you need to bring everything up at the same time. So you need to level 1 in Facebook, then level 1 in Pinterest, then level 1 in products, and level 1 in freebies, and then the next level and all the way across the board. So absolutely. I just wanted to make that point.
I like that analogy. You have to hit level 1 across the board before you can get to level 10.
It's like Mario.
Can you tell we have boys?
Yeah, right. Yes.
But that's kind of where we want you guys to understand is we're not saying like, you know, don't pay attention to any of these things. Master what it is that you're working on. Hand it off to somebody or set it to autopilot before you move on to something else. Because it's kind of like jumping ship, like where you're like, okay, well, I figured out Pinterest. All right. Boom. Like, I don't need to do anything else ever again. Let's go over to Facebook and see what we can do. You have to figure out something to maintain that you've already worked on. And maybe it is Post Planner. Maybe it's Meet Edgar or a scheduler that you can use. Maybe it's later. Maybe it's hiring an assistant. But there's a lot of things that you can do that will continue to maintain for you so that you can learn and grow somewhere else so that your business is still growing while you are learning something else. That's what I'm trying to get at. I was trying to figure out the right words to say here and it's just like eluding me.